What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I apologize, it's been a slow couple weeks. I had some family in town, so that takes priority to me. At least family comes first. But anyways, today we are going to be going over everything that you need to do to waterproof a Honda Pioneer 1000. So these are the necessities that I think need to be done. So you have your obvious, you need to snorkel it, you need to run your vent lines. I'm gonna go over the locations of each one of those, as well as some tips and tricks for you guys that just bought your Honda Pioneer 1000 and you guys don't wanna spend a fortune on a snorkel kit online. You can easily snorkel one of these, run your vent lines, and do everything you need to do for around $100. So let's jump into it. All right, I do apologize for how dirty this thing is. I actually didn't clean up under here when I cleaned this thing last ride. But the first thing you're going to want to do is to obviously run your snorkel. Now, there are a couple ways you can go about doing this. You can do a front snorkel like I have done. Mud Puppy does a very good explanation on how to do this. However, I'll give you guys a brief rundown. Basically, you want to order a 3-inch boost tube kit on eBay, and you're going to want a heat gun or a torch. You got to be careful with the torch to not melt the boot. But basically, under the passenger side of the side-by-side, you have your stock intake right there. That's where you're going to slip your boost pipe down into. If you're doing a front snorkel, that pipe is just shy of 3 inches. So you're going to have to take a heat gun to it to loosen up that rubber to jam the pipe actually down into there. Also, you're going to want to get, some metal, some thin metal that you can bend easily, just to kind of help keep everything in there and so it doesn't rattle around too much. And you're also going to want to buy some ultra black. You're going to want to ultra black the screws that you use to put into there to make sure it is actually watertight. The hardest part about doing this, honestly, is just getting the hole cut out and sized up correctly to where it actually matches up correctly and you don't have a lot of play, and the boost pipe or your snorkel pipe actually sits in there pretty stiff. So once you get your snorkel pipe installed, the next step that you're going to have to do is actually run your vent lines up. So you have your front differential, your rear differential, you have a gas tank vent, and I believe you have a water pump vent as well. So this is the rear differential vent. It's going to come up right here. You can see where it clips in on the stock location. I left that there. There's a hole here from the factory. I zip tied that. And I just basically ran it up here, slipped it into this little clamp, ran up under the bike, behind this fender, and then up the roll cage. There is a little spot up here on this roll cage. Right here, I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but if you take this factory roof off, you can take your vent lines and stick them straight down into there. You don't have to do any drilling or anything like that. Now, your front vent lines are a little bit in more of a tighter area, a little bit more difficult to get to. And to be frankly honest with you guys, it's been over a year since I've ran these vent lines, so I totally forget where the stock vent line was. However, it is pretty easy to trace. If you look here, right on top of your front differential, you'll actually see your line. So you're gonna wanna run that line all the way up. And what I did, I came up with the vent lines and came across over to that side and ran it up this side of the cage right here. You can see 2 lines right here that run straight up. And that one is also just kind of tucked right up into there. Nothing too crazy. You just want to make sure it's not pinched in any spot. You just want to make sure it's good to go. While you're running these vent lines, I would go ahead and dielectrical grease your spark plug boots. You have 2 of them on this machine. You have these little pop rivets here. You're going to take this plastic out and you have 2 spark plugs that sit right on top of the cylinder head. You're going to pop your lines off of those. You're going to get some dielectrical grease, fill those boots up, pop them back down on there, and you're just going to reassemble your plastics on the back end. That takes care of the whole back end of the pipe, or back end of the bike, and then you're going to move underneath the seat. So in here you actually have a breather that comes off of your subtrans right here. So you're going to want to plumb in an extension right here, which you can see where I did. Run that up the cage up there, and then your gas tank vent is under here as well. You're going to want to extend that. You do not want gas, or you do not want water getting in your gas tank. That will put an end to your riding trip pretty quickly. You're gonna have to siphon all the gas out of your tank. Let's take a second here to recognize all the water that is still into this thing, which leads to probably one of the last steps that you're really going to want to do with one of these bikes, especially if you plan on going deep. You're going to want to get a 3/4 inch drill bit, and you're going to want to drill a bunch of holes in places that collect water. So this is prime example. I did drill a bunch of holes into here. However, what ends up happening is down here in Florida, we have a lot of sand. The sand will collect into there and it'll actually clog the holes, and you actually have to kind of get in there and dig it out, you know, stick a hose down in there. It's kind of a big pain. But I did drill a bunch of random little holes down in here, down in here. It helps a lot if you drill a bunch of holes in your floorboard as well as in the bed. There are already factory holes in the bed. However, it's still not a bad idea to put a few extra in there just to help with some drainage. Now, if you are planning on going over dash deep, so your water level is going to be higher than this, you're going to want to pull your dash cluster out and seal that as well. So essentially what I did, I didn't know that that was not waterproof the first time around, and I had water probably about up to here, almost to the top of the snorkel pipe. And what ended up happening was that dash cluster actually went out. Luckily, I didn't have many miles on the bike. It was shortly after break-in. I think I had like 200 miles on the bike when this happened. But that dash cluster went completely out. It went berserk until it finally stopped working altogether. To seal that dash cluster, what I did was there's just a bunch of little Phillips head screws. Get that whole thing pulled out. It's just 3 screws that are up behind the dash. Up behind there. It's kind of a pain to get to. However, it is definitely doable. You don't need any special tools or anything to get to it. Once you get that pulled out, there's just a bunch of little Phillips head screws that go around the actual cluster itself. You're going to want to pop that cluster loose. You're going to want to get some ultra black and seal around that entire screen, and then you're going to put your screws back in there, make sure that's tight. And I like to actually leave it out of the bike overnight, let everything dry, let it, you know, settle, do everything the correct way, and you should be good to go. I have had some people I've heard of some people having issues further than that with the wires that come out the back. If that is you guys, you're gonna probably, if you want to cross your T's and dot your I's, I would, you know, electrical tape the wiring, ultra black the back end of the wires as well. However, I've yet to have issues, and I regularly take this thing, you know, this deep, and we're actually working on extending this snorkel pipe, so it's gonna be another 18 inches taller, so it should be sitting around roof height. So definitely stay tuned for some of those videos. We have a ride coming up July 4th that I am planning on sending this thing extremely deep. We've been getting a lot of rain recently, so it should make for a really interesting video. So if you guys haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, drop a comment down below. Let me know what videos you guys want to see. And that's mainly going to wrap this video up, guys. That basically covers the gist of everything that you're going to have to do. Oh, what's up, pup? Hi. Oh, it's all right, man. Hi. All right, sorry about that, guys. You always got to say hi to a dog when they show up, especially a little pup like that. That dog was so adorable. But yeah, the only other thing I would say you really have to do to these machines, if you hit a lot of mud, the stock radiator location is absolutely terrible, and it is kind of a smaller radiator. So what ends up happening is this will clog up, and I've seen it to where even when you pull the radiator back out, it's almost impossible to get all the mud out of there. So you start to have overheating issues. I ended up going with an a TCP radiator, the Mutter radiator, and they're a little pricey. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. If you guys wanted to check them out, just Google TCP, and they have radiators for all kinds of different machines. This is the only thing that I have found that has actually worked. Definitely go give them a look if you guys are having overheating issues, as well as the stock headlights. The stock headlights, if you go in deep water, they will fill up with water. Actually, I can show you guys exactly what will happen. So these are the stock headlight housings. I pulled these out probably a month ago. I ended up buying the Vessel Power Sport headlights, which work phenomenally. You will get a lot of mud in here, a lot of water. You're gonna end up having to drill holes at the bottom of it to get it to drain. And if you're running the stock factory halogen bulbs, you will blow those as well. Also, even if you don't mud ride, those headlights are so terrible. You cannot see anything out of them at all. If you night ride at all, you just can't see anything. They're very dim headlights. That is definitely a mod that I suggest doing if you own a Honda. I think they make, well, I know they make headlights for Pioneers, every single make and model. So the Pioneer 500, Pioneer 700, and Pioneer 1000. They also make them for the Talons, and they also make them for the Ranchers, Rubicons, Foremans, etc. So if you guys are tired of not being able to see at night, go give these a look. I'll turn them on for you guys just so you can see what I'm talking about. They are extremely bright, and they are 100% waterproof. Extremely bright headlights. You don't even really need to run a light bar with those. They are well worth the money. If you guys are interested in those, let me help you guys out. I have a promo code. It is country10. It'll be up above. Use that promo code on their website. It'll give you 10% off if you guys want to get some of those headlights. They also have other things. If you guys run audio, you're gonna wanna put everything up high. I made that mistake before. Excuse the wiring mess. I have to rewire a bunch of stuff on here because those switches down low are definitely not ideal. But if you guys run audio or you run switches and you want to run glow whips, you know, LED pods, whatever the case may be, you're going to want to put your switches up high, preferably around the roll cage, up on the roof like I did with this amp. The original location I had that amp was down here, and you can actually see the screws. I had a switch panel wired in here, and then I had the amp down underneath there by my knees. Do not recommend at all. I did not get very much usage out of that, and it was kind of just wasted money. Pro tip, put everything up high. Don't put anything down low where it's going to get wet. That is the main concern with electronics. Don't want them to get wet. Even if you dielectrical grease them and everything under the sun, you will still eventually have issues. Also, if you guys watch Mud Puppy's page, he actually just recently started having issues with his fuse panel here, which mine's pretty rough as well. I got to clean all that stuff out. But you're definitely going to want to, when you first buy this machine and you're waterproofing it, you're going to want to pull those fuses as well. Dielectrical grease everything in that little box, put your cover back on there, and you're going to want to maintain that. So after large mudding rides or deep water fording, whatever the case may be, you're going to want to pull that lid off, make sure there's no mud or crud in there. You know, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite myself as far as that's concerned. I'm pretty lazy with cleaning that out. But if you do start having issues, that is probably one of the first places I would look. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Stay tuned. We are going to have some riding footage coming here soon. Hopefully next weekend we can get out there on the trail, go see what the conditions are looking like. Probably at Rancho. We're going to check Rancho out, and then the following week for 4th of July weekend, we'll be at Hollopole all weekend long. So guys, if you see the Pioneer out there, don't be afraid to say what's up. Come up to me. I'm going to have some merch out there for you guys, so I'll give some of that away to you. And as always, like this video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below, tell me what kind of content you guys want to see, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.